prophet Isaiah went to Ahaz and asked him, request of God a sign from the depths beneath or from heavens above. You know, I said yesterday that a sign is a non-verbal communication that points to something other than itself. Whenever you see a signboard is not pointing to itself. A signboard is pointing to something else. So is it with a spiritual sign. And many times when you are seeking the face of God, you need to be sensitive, because it is possible that God might communicate with you by giving you a sign. You need to be very conscious to be able to pick up a sign that God is making available to you. Once upon a time, we finished our operations in the ministry. I've forgotten the year precisely. If Pastor Dan were here, he would have been able to tell what year it was, but I don't keep those in my brain. So we finished our operations for the year, and we ended the year with a Thanksgiving feast, and we rejoiced, and then we shut down and asked people to go to their villages and spread the word. So right there in the admin, they switched off all the equipment and everything, and they shut down the facility. Those were the days when I was still in Lagos, so I did not know much about what was going on a day-to-day basis. I was able to secure permission, and I went somewhere to observe the crossover night. It's a place that they don't know me. It's a place that they are not familiar with who I was. And I did not identify myself to be a minister of the gospel. I was in the midst of the crowd, seeking God desperately for my soul. And while I was there, seeking God desperately for my soul, in a place where I was not known, two young ladies approached me and began to cry. Can you see a poor man? A poor man just came to look for Jesus. And these ladies began to cry and fell on my feet. One held my right leg, the other one held my left leg, and they began to cry for 1 hour. For 1 solid hour, these two young ladies cried. And after crying for 1 hour, they left. They didn't even greet me and went back into the congregation. Then I knew something was wrong, because in my own mind, that was a strange sign. And I had to go decipher what that sign was about. These ladies came and cried by 4 a.m. in the morning. Are you there? And by 6 a.m. in the morning, I had received a phone call from one of our operatives at the former venue, and they told me that the venue is on fire. The venue is on fire, and they have not been able to quench the fire. Well, they called me 45 minutes later, and they said, the neighbors rose up and said, our church is on fire. Meanwhile, those guys have never attended church actually. But they say our church is on fire. And they broke through the burglaries, they got into the ceiling, they put out the fire. When I was done with my prayers, I traveled back from where I was, and I came and saw, glory be to God, the whole building did not catch fire. But you see, all our equipment, the keyboard, the amplifier, the mixer, everything that has to do with sound was packed into the room that was affected by the fire. And the fire melted it into liquid. My microphone, I had, I've been using all kinds of stuff, but there's a microphone that was designed for me from Germany. It's a Sennheiser microphone. There's been no microphone like that. My microphone was overtaken by the flame. That was the burden that was upon my soul in the time. My microphone was affected. Now, if you come there, you will say, praise the Lord, the building did not burn. But those that know where to look understand that that fire incident was a sign, and I need to find out the meaning of that sign. In my mind, I was not in sin, I was not in trespass, so I don't know why a fire should come and burn the place where we have set up a prayer altar for God. The only thing we do in that place was to pray. And if anything, there should be angels standing guard to ensure that no form of damage comes to that facility. But here I was face to face with a situation that was perplexing to me, and I had to go into the presence of God because that was a sign. If you are careless, oh my God, may the Lord open your eyes. Signs are littered across the pavement. Signs are littered across our nation. What we need right now are men with the spirit of wisdom like Daniel that can interpret the sign that the hand had written on the wall, Mene Mene Tekel Upharsin. And I went into the presence of God and I told God, I'm not living in sin. Why is it that this place got burnt? And you know my mic, you know my microphone. You know how I like that microphone. Now, if other things got burnt, I will not be here, but my mic was consumed in that fire. And when I spoke, I wept, and I wept for days, and I wept for 1 week, and God did not answer me, and I kept on weeping for another couple of days, and when it was 14 days, the Lord said, rise up. You have not sinned. The only thing that you did is that you put your video on cable. You know cable? Cable network. We found a cable station somewhere in Lagos, and it was a cable station that had such a great coverage. Are you there? So if you put the message on that platform, the frequency was available all across Africa. He said, you committed no guile. It's just that when you put your message on the cable platform, your voice now traveled farther than your current jurisdiction. And the demons that came to respond to you are demons that came from where your voice went. Your voice was traveling, but you did not provide prayer infrastructure to safeguard the outcome of that mileage that your voice has been. And then somebody will be there saying he wants his voice to travel. Meanwhile, it is safer for you, for your voice to be in the kitchen. If I had never had that sign, because that sign was a sign of danger, that doom was coming if I did not do something about the situation. The same way this fire came, the demons are going to regroup, and the next sound that we hear will be a sound that I may not recover from. Oh my God. The Lord himself will show thee what? A sign. You know that before it rains, you will hear things like thunder, you will hear things like storm. That's how it is. Before the real eventuality takes place, there will be many signs that will be littered across the pavement. You need to be outrightly spiritually dull for you not to be able to pick up. When unusual things happen, you want to step out of the house and then the key to your car, you can't find it. You know what? Go and sit down. Don't hurry, just sit down. Sit down, look for a hymn book, sing one hymn to the Lord. Just forget about the haste. Purge it from your heart. You are not with me. If you travel the way I do, you will be very sensitive to the signs that you pick along the road. It is very easy for you to tell that mischief has been occasioned against you. And sometimes these signs are put in place by angelic personalities that exercise guardianship over your life. So signs can be spiritual, signs can also be physical. So you will see that the prophet went to Ahaz and told him to request of God a sign as a confirmation of the things that he has said. And Ahaz said, no, I don't want to tempt the Lord in requesting from him a sign. So the prophet said, the Lord himself. God is not allergic to signs. And I'm going to show you across scripture, anytime major things happened, God was willing to announce those things by a sign. Now turn again, just move one chapter forward, move. There are many dangers that can be averted if we have the capacity to read the signs that are littered around us, which is suggestive of the fact that there is something that is about to break forth. Before you experience a breakthrough in the natural, your spirit will, there is a sensation like a honeycomb that your spirit will begin to experience, a sweetness that you cannot explain, something beyond words that your spirit will begin to enjoy. Those are spiritual signs. And I don't want to go into the spiritual signs because you will say we can't see it, we can't touch it. Let me dwell on the physical ones. Are you still with me? An angel came to Mary and told Mary, blessed art thou amongst women. Thou art highly favored, O Mary. And the angel unveiled the counsel of God. And Mary asked a question. Are you still with me? Mary asked a question. How shall these things be, seeing that I know not a man? What is the mechanism by which these things will take place? Because the normal biological protocol is not in play. What was the answer? The Spirit of the Lord shall come upon you, and the power of the highest shall overshadow you. Do you still remember the case of Zachariah that went to carry out his priestly service in the temple, and then angel Gabriel was standing by the altar of incense? Now the question is, why was it the altar of incense that angel Gabriel was standing beside? Because in the holy place we had 3 pieces of furniture. We had the 7 golden candlesticks, the menorah. We had the table of shewbread. And then we had the brazen altar. Why was it by the side of the brazen altar that Gabriel was standing? That's not the only furniture in that place, in that vicinity. But it happens to be that the brazen altar is a picture of the place where sacrifice, brazen, brass means judgment. Are you there with me? So the brazen altar is actually a picture of Calvary. And Calvary is the biggest work of priesthood that God set up upon the face of the earth in order to redeem his counsel. You know, his counsel was no longer going to come to pass on the account of the error of Adam. So God himself sponsored an altar in the earth, and it was on the basis of that altar that was set up in the earth that his own grand eternal plan can find expression upon the face of the earth. He will have the opportunity to be able to conquer the hearts of humankind again. And there will be sons and daughters that are loyal to his kingdom who will be given the wisdom to implement his program upon the face of the earth. Now, the brazen altar there is symbolic of Calvary. And that is the sum total of the instrument that is set up to satisfy the claims of divine justice. It was at the side of that altar that the angel was standing, Angel Gabriel. And Angel Gabriel began to tell him How that his prayers have ascended to heaven, his prayers have been heard, and his wife will surely give birth to a son.